Most teams don't fail because they don't work hard. They fail because their energy is scattered. Culture doesn't come from ESPN slogans, Instagram, or YouTube hot takes. It's about where attention, effort, and standards live inside your bubble and inside the environment that you're trying to create. And when they align, the momentum builds fast. And today I have a super exciting conversation with Derryk Williams, who took over an NCAA Division III women's program. In all 4 years he's been there, they've had winning records. In the last 2 seasons, they've made the NCAA tournament. And you can understand why they've had success. And it's because they're making clear choices about people, priorities, and focus. And this conversation is about those environments that are working and why others don't quite get going. So I'm excited to jump in. Let's begin. Derryk, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Really excited to talk about the coaching aspect here, how environments influence success, wins, losses. The coaching carousel's really got me like intrigued right now, seeing people kind of go from success at one program and then what are they going to do at the next, or people leaving kind of other programs as well. So I would love to deep dive into kind of your story. I think it's really cool. It's always been on my forefront of the program didn't exist. And now we're 4 years in, and you're second round into the NCAA. You won 16 matches the first season, and so winning records all 4 years. Joined the NCAA tournament last year, right? And then now you're second round, losing to a top five team, and I think it's just very intriguing on how do we get there, right? Like, what are some of the things that you've taken from Syracuse and implemented at William Smith, and kind of what started this run, and what did you really focus on and prioritize in your environment, in your gym, to really help this success?
Yeah, I think from the beginning, I had a really clear vision of like this was going to be a successful program. And I think that was a huge part of getting the right people here in the beginning, at least a good group of them that was able to make it through all 4 years from that first group. I mean, I was hired in December of 21 and we started in fall of 22. So I had less than a calendar year. And if you think about the recruiting calendar, I had about slim pickings at the end. Now, granted, I was fortunate because it was the end of COVID, so a lot of people's processes got changed. The transfer portal was crazy, all that stuff. But it was clear, like I made my vision clear, which is we were going to be really successful here, and I wanted people that wanted to be successful. And what did that success mean to people? And I think for us, we've had that vision of winning a national championship, and not just saying like, oh, we're going to win a natty. Like, okay, what's it going to do to get there? So I think having a really clear vision from the beginning from my end, and I was fortunate after our win against Lynchburg in the NCAA tournament, our seniors were speaking, our senior captains were speaking to the media, and they all touched on the fact that like the vision was the reason they came. And I think they've continued to push to make that vision better. And the other thing I love about what we said is since the beginning, I've always said what you're doing now is setting up success for the women 15 to 20 years from now in this program. And we have such great women's athletics teams here. I mean, soccer went to the national championship game 2 years ago, has won multiple natties. Since I've been here, lacrosse has gone to two Final Fours and a Sweet 16. Like, there's a lot of success in sports, especially women's sports here. So I knew we'd have the resources and the capability of being successful. And that was part of the reason why I came. But I think having a clear vision from the beginning and each year trying to create a next step on that vision is what's important. And I think if people buy into that vision, that's what's important, because we can sit here and teach all the X's and O's. And I think we're good at that. I would say that's the biggest thing I took from Syracuse is how to train a team, is technically all that stuff that we're not going to dive into. But, I think for me, like learning how to construct a practice to help them be successful was huge. And then I think the biggest learning curve for me was learning culture and what that culture meant for us, because I had great coaches before working at Syracuse, but we didn't really have culture. We were a pro team. We went in, we practiced, we played, and that was it. So I think trying to take some of that and then put my own spin on it and then just consistently learning. But we've had a lot of bumps along the way, but I think the success was clear because the vision was clear. And is that there's no excuses here coming with.
Yeah, I love that because there's just so much it sounds like there's so much future driven. I've read a lot about like just having optimism is one of the biggest drivers to success. And I feel like when you come into a program or like a school or a vision, all of this future driven stuff seems to be that like kicker of me going to Springfield. It's like you step onto campus, like you have to and you must do all of this stuff to get to this future end goal. And maybe that's a big thing that people overlook is that there needs to be a vision, a future, and you're not just going like, "Hey, we're going to win this game." It's more of a timeline and a process. And then once you get people into that, it's really like building momentum towards something rather than, just the present day.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for us, the vision has remained the same since the first recruit call I've had, which is our plan is to win national championships here. And it's not a goal, it's a plan.
Yeah.
So in my eyes, I think they're two different things. I think goal setting is great, but I think in our era, just in general, like think about how many people are like, my goal is to lose 15 pounds. How many people actually lose 15 pounds?
Yeah.
Or my goal is to touch 10-3. How many people are actually getting there? I think goals allow us. I think when we talk about having a plan in our program specifically, we talk about what's the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to touch 10-3, but are you really going to do whatever it takes to touch 10-3? So I think, one of the things from the coaching staff side is we always have this, well, I have this phrase that they get sick of hearing as my assistants, but, somebody once said to me, you do whatever it takes. So what's it going to take for us to get the right people here that are going to buy into that vision? It's going to take multiple phone calls. It's going to take calling both the high school coach, the club coach, the recruiting coordinator. It's going to take all of these things to make sure that we're getting the right women here that are going to be on board for that vision and understanding it's not about them. Because AJ, like nobody cares how many wins I have in my career. I don't even know how many I have so far as a head coach. I don't. Like we made the second round, we made the NCAA tournament by at-larges 2 years out of 4, which is awesome. But my wife, if my wife knew how many wins I had, I'd be astonished, right? And like that's maybe my dad, I don't know, like, but nobody, no, it doesn't matter, right? So I think it's trying to get the right people to understand that, like, whenever I decide to be done coaching, people aren't going to remember how many wins I had. And if that's the thing they remember about me, I consider myself a very unsuccessful coach. Like, I want to be the person that, like, pushed them, and they're not always going to love me, and I'm okay with that. But if I don't push them and hold them to high standards, then they don't get better. So that's what we're looking for in that vision is, like, how do we take a next step every single year? And say we win a national championship, okay, what's the next step from there? It's continuing to improve a culture. We have new captains that are sophomores this spring. So one was a captain starting her first year because she has great leadership, one of the best leaders I've ever coached. But they're young. So I was like, you guys don't understand what it took for us to get here. I just talked to them the other day. I said, so what's that next step? Because you guys might think what it takes to get here, but what it took to get here is not what you think it is. So how are you guys going to take us another level? So it's allowing them to create that vision too, with that optimism as you're talking about, like, what's the end goal and how are we going to get there from our day to day? So I think that's where we've been really successful.
Yeah, I just love the belief and the vision where it's something I feel it even hearing you talk about these stories. It's just something bigger than you, and that's creating this urgency or this optimism, this drive, and then it also just it settles me because I felt it before of like, cool, we're on the plan. Like I don't have to worry about if we lose this match or not because it's part of the plan and I'm going. So I love that feeling I get when I'm like hearing you talk, brings me back. What are some of the things that you've kind of noticed in your time there? So we're in year 4, right? So what are some things where you're like, man, this is what's going to take William Smith to the next level? But then all of a sudden, don't need that anymore, right? Like my first day of coaching to now has evolved and it's kind of completely different. So what are some of the things that kind of you left or they just left themselves, the elements or the processes that you're like, we don't need those anymore?
Yeah. I think on a personal level, as a coach, I've adapted and changed my style a ton. Like when I got here and I was that first year head coach, I was a hardo. Like I would call myself a young old school coach. That's how I would have referred to myself.
I was the same way. I was the same way. Here we go.
So I would refer to myself as a young old school coach. And then come year two, laid off the gas a little bit, and then year three, definitely laid off. And this year, like, I still motivate. I'm still passionate, and my athletes, I try to be as genuine as possible. I don't try to be someone I'm not. I don't try to hide. I'll joke with them. We'll have a great time, but they also know that we're here to win, and what that's going to take is a lot. So I think uh, I got rid of all the yelling. Like I still yell when I need to motivate, and I'm still loud, but it's less like all over them. Now, at the time, I do look back and think that that wasn't the worst decision because we were a brand new program, and if we didn't set the standards high every day in the gym, it would take me longer to get to those standards. So I don't regret my decision, but I'd say the transition's been a huge change for me. We don't take transfers in my program. I don't recruit them because the most important thing to me as a head coach is loyalty and hard work. Those are the two most important things. So that's for my assistants, that's for my athletes. So when I recruit kids, I tell them I'm not taking transfers. We don't do it. We did that year one, and I think that was the other thing. Like year one, I wanted to win, I wanted to get things going, and we did that. And we took a couple transfers that didn't pay, like they helped us, but in terms of the next steps, would probably have held us back. So that didn't pan out long term. And then also like now that I really have seniors graduate, I love the evolution of seeing them grow. So I don't want to take a kid for 2 years that's coming into a great culture and maybe they had bad habits that they were okay with at the old place. Now I'm going to be the hardo at the new place that's telling them not. And I also think we do a really good job recruiting. So people coming in are good. They can play. So if somebody would be a transfer, they'd have to be so unreal that I'd be like, guys, they're touching 10-6. Like that would be the only time I'd be like, is it worth it? But they'd still have to be the right person too. So I think that's been a big transition for me is that I think I'm really good at learning and growing. And I'm not stubborn to be like, I was wrong. I tell my team I'm wrong all the time. And I think they have a lot of respect for that. And I tell my assistant all the time too. I'm like, okay, what's your opinion? I might tell her she's wrong or I might tell her that I disagree, but like I want it. And I think I'm a way better coach from 4 years ago in terms of my style and my ability to adapt and then also understanding how to coach different people differently. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen the growth in the program is because on the personal side and then as a team side, just having to teach them how to hold each other accountable and not just say hold each other accountable, actually sit down and have the hard conversations at 18 to 20 years old. And we teach them how to have those conversations. But I think that's the hardest part as an athlete from 18 to 21 is how do you sit down with your classmate or somebody that might be older than you? We've got two sophomore captains now. How are they going to sit down with that junior and be like, hey, this isn't what it needs to be? But I think that's been a big success for us is that's expected and understood. That's part of our program. So it's not like they're personal as much as it used to be when those conversations are had.
Yeah, I always said joining into like any program or team, it was just like I'm a human being trainer that happens to coach volleyball. I did it poorly at the beginning, but I still at the core really think that coaching is, hey, we're teaching these people to have hard conversations up and down the chain, where, expectations, all of this stuff that's in the sport, right? Like, hey, we're, a student athlete, but so many people then say, hey, we're student athletes, but you said at Syracuse, like we needed to win. So you weren't really balancing the student and the athlete. You were like, yeah, you're a student athlete, but like, let's go win 20 games and make the NCAA tournament, win a championship, all that stuff. So I feel like you're protecting that environment that is this like human being training, really creating like good people from, people that want to learn and grow. And it's creating this bubble that you're like, hey, this bubble is what is going to take us to the next level rather than just a whole bunch of pieces, maybe chess pieces that you're moving around. And if, hey, one gets, knocked off the board, you're like, yeah, whatever. But you're more importantly, focused on the people, the environment, who comes in the door, and like what William Smith and like the program's about and the culture's about, rather than just trying to move pawns around.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, there's something that I learned when I was a young coach. It's like, you can't teach people how to be a good person. You can't teach them how to work hard. You can help motivate them, but you can't teach them to have a good work ethic and to be a good person. And I think a lot of that comes from their upbringing. And I think for me, the second we're on a recruit call and we get a yellow flag, she's done. I don't care how good she is. A yellow flag. I don't even need red.
Well,
I need yellow flags.
what's a yellow flag to you?
Yellow flag to me is like, somebody doesn't play and they're like, well, my coach didn't see potential in me, immediately done.
Okay.
Because how's she going to be when she gets here? It's a more competitive gym. Is it my fault that she's not on the court? My job's to win. Like as much
Yeah.
like my livelihood isn't as affected as it used to be, and I think that's brought me some peace as well.
Yeah.
However, like I'm still here to win. I'm very competitive. So you could come to my gym and not be playing. Is it going to be my fault that you're not playing? What are you doing to get better? So that's a yellow flag for me in the recruiting process right away. Like as soon as it's something about the coach's fault, now I can dive if it's I also like to hear how they speak about their coach
Yeah.
because sometimes they might not have had what they wanted, but if they speak highly about their coach and getting better and understanding where they were in that role, that's a huge plus for me. But I'd say the other yellow flag is how they speak to their parents or talk about their family. If there's anything that's not great, kind of like, okay. And then how they speak about their teammates too. Like I always ask, like, what do you think about playing for that team? And if it's immediately, if it's immediately bad things, well, we have some people that aren't really good people. Immediately, I'm like, no, it's like when you can do it the right way and describe that it's been a tough year. However, I'm learning a lot from it. Immediately, I'm like, okay, they get it. So I think anything that gives me a little bit where I have to sit back and be like, if I have to twist my head at all, I'm moving on.
Oh, I love
So,
it.
but I think that's important for us. Is getting the right women here is the most important thing. Like if you got everybody on board, it's easy. Like it's not easy overall, but it's easier for sure.
So it sounds like you're pretty much just streamlining the hiring process. Like you're spending a lot of time on who they are they going to fit into the culture? Like is your coaching predominantly just this like recruiting process and like getting people in, getting the right coaches, worrying about like who's in the bubble? And then yeah, obviously the practices matter, the matches matter, how you deal with, off court and on court issues and stuff. But it seemed like what percentage is just the hiring process and like the recruiting process for you?
I think in terms of the actual coaching, it's about 7% of my job. Like 7 to 10. I think because I think in a really successful program, you have to do the little things that don't matter to some really well. Like I have an assistant here who's had a great experience as an assistant. She's like, we didn't have any of these things that you do for your athletes. It's like, yeah, because if they're going to give me everything I have, I'm going to give them the best experience here.
Mhm.
Like when we travel, how we eat on the road. Like we're not ordering pizzas or ordering Chipotle every time. Like I want mom and pop shops with good meals every time we're getting pre or post game meal, right? Like we're doing those little extra things. Like right now, creating highlight videos for our commits. That takes a lot of my time, but I know that's something that they feel rewarded about and they can watch it and share it, and that's important to them.
Yeah.
So, like, I demand a lot, but I give a lot. And I think they know that there's very few people that outwork our staff. Like, as much as, I'm confident in my abilities, I think there's very few people that would have accomplished what our program has accomplished in 4 years from nothing and 5 months to recruit the first class. And I think that's
Yeah.
what we take a lot of pride in, and that's why we always want to continue to get better. So, in terms of the bubble, as you said, though, that is the most important thing to me. Like, we've had to make really hard decisions. I've asked quite a few people to leave the program because our standards are written in a contract. They're clear. And if you don't meet the standards, you're out. And we have conversations, of course. It's not like a one and done, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you're not all in, like, I'll save the swear word, but one of the first things in our contract is no crap talk. And then right after that, it's no pity parties or poor me's. So if somebody's having those problems, we'll have conversations, but you can't, there's no BS in the program. Like it's cut and dry. Like these are the kind of women you want to be surrounded by because then we can get to that end goal of winning. Because if our culture wasn't good and I didn't make hard decisions, we wouldn't have made the NCAA tournament, let alone made the second round this year. Like I think we're starting to get some serious talent and we had some great volleyball players that got way better over their 4 years here. But I think it's all about the humans, AJ. Like it's to me, and who are you surrounding yourself with? Like our athletic trainer is phenomenal. She's all bought in. She's
Yeah.
with us all the time. Like she's bought in. Our strength and conditioning coach. I mean, she was full time at Baylor before she got here. So we've got athletes that are flying, right? So I have all the pieces, and my assistant coaches, I'll take green assistant coaches that have never done it before, as long as they're willing to be learn and be loyal to me, because I am going to mess up, but I need to know they have my back, and they both have, and they're excellent. But I think that's where they start talking to other coaches and realize it's special here because I think I tell recruits this all the time, family that isn't blood is earned. And at this point, our program has earned that title to me as family. And and I'm not just sitting here being like, we're a happy family. No, none of that BS. It's like that was earned because everybody bought into the same thing and treats each other with respect and works hard. And so I think it's all about the right people. As I said, like we normally talked about 30 to 35 students to commit one. And and I think that's what's important is like I'm willing to do that time. My assistant's willing to do that time because they've seen the benefit of having the right people in the program more than just having the right talent in the program. So it's just so fun for me when you can get the right women because then it's fun for me to go to practice every day too. Like
Yeah.
you've coached, there's been times in your career you walk in the gym and you're just like, God, I got to coach that kid today. Like I don't have that anymore, which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like they're still gonna make you upset or make you angry at times because they're humans and we're all human. But like you don't walk in the gym every day and be like, oh, here we go. Now it's like I get the opportunity to do this every day, you know?
I love it because one of my uh, like like theories and feelings is that like people overwork themselves in the wrong way. And all the things that I'm hearing from you are you're working your butt off and you're doing like the extra and you're doing all this stuff. But it's not a grind at like we're in the gym 5 hours a day and like we're busting them and working hard. Like you're not working hard or like overworking. You're competing, you're being very smart with your time, you're creating this balance that I think a lot of people miss is that they're like, I need to work hard, I need to do this and like hit 1,000 balls. It's like, yeah, but the balance that I just heard you say from the athletic trainer, the strength trainer, your coaches, you, the team, the culture, and then the 7% of time that you're actually like coaching.
Yeah.
If someone, an athlete, a coach watching this, like zoom out and understand where are you, what's the environment, and how do you manipulate the environment. If you're always worried about just recruiting and not the people actually going through the 4 years, or if you're just worried about the on-court product, you're missing the point. And I think that's what really gets me going is like you just showed everything that is in a program from the players to the coaches. And I think so many people in social media or YouTube or whatever it is, it's like, do this one thing and you're going to be amazing. It's like, sure, Tiger Woods looked like he played a lot, but I guarantee there were so many more aspects of his mental game to his drive, maybe some luck, maybe some, great people around him. He had Marco Mira. Like all of this kind of comes into, oh yeah, we've had 4 winning seasons and we've gone to the NCAA tournament the last 2 years. So I love hearing the balance, even though a lot of people might, through their lens, hear, I need to work hard because Derryk's working hard and he's texting all these people. Like, there is this little like catch 22. Like, I hope people are understanding that.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, that's over a couple years of texting, but still, yeah, I think it's not, I agree. It's what's most important to you as a coach. Like, and I look for two things when I'm recruiting. Obviously, the human being side's huge. That's number one for me. They got to be a great human. And the second thing I look for is potential. I don't want people that are good, right? Like, I don't want people that are tapped. And I
Yeah.
think one thing I learned from working under my boss at Syracuse is how to notice its potential. So I think that's part of it. It's like, we have a middle that was an honorable mention All-American this year. She was goofy-footed her senior year in March of high school and had one offer to another school that was a D3 school that wasn't where we saw our program going and where our program is.
Yep.
So, but I saw great athlete, great person potential, and has a great intrinsic motivation that wants to win. I mean, she's touching 10-2 now. She had 9 blocks against Hopkins in a 4-set match. Like she's an animal. It's just like that's the stuff where we want to take potential on the human being side and potential on the volleyball side. And because I think when people buy into the fact that they're going to get better, they buy into the culture. And with the way we train, they need to do that. But also, I think the other thing is with the human being side, as you said, like the bubble, it's bigger picture. If you get the right women to start, I don't have to yell at them to go sit in the front row when we have guest speakers come on. I don't have to tell them to put their phones away at team meals. Like those things are just established right away. Like our team goes dry in season. I don't know any other D3 teams that go dry in season. So that's on our first call. We tell them, hey,
Okay.
we're going dry. Because look, just the way we've built this program and what the women have established, if you need to have a beer or go party more than you need to go win a championship, this isn't going to be right fit. Now they still can do socialization, like they can still go be humans and be college students, but they know not to
Yeah.
drink and no one tests that. And they know like I haven't had to put my foot down on that, which is great. But it's setting the standards, setting the examples. Like, I think it's fun for me to hear them talk about other teams at times where like we had a guest speaker come and speak to all the athletes. And there was people acting immature, speaking during the things, and they came back and they're like, Coach, we were really disappointed in our fellow athletes. And I was like, tell me why. And they're just like, they were immature. They weren't getting the most of it. Here's the things we took from it. Perfect. But as you said, like getting ready for the real world, that's what I think. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, when they're not up to the standards, they come and they sit across my desk from me and we have a hard conversation because, hey, guess what? That's what the real world's like. You're not getting the job done. They're not going to like, it's okay. It's like, get the job done and you don't have a job. And I think we're losing that. And I want to make sure that they're prepared for those hard conversations that if somebody's going to hold them accountable, they're not going to lose their mind and then go crazy and then funnel. They're used to it. They'll find a way to respond. So I think it's a lot of those things, but it's different for every person in terms of where do you want to put your energy, where do you want to put your time. I mean, but recruiting for me is the most important part, and not just being on the road or not just sending out a bunch of messages. It's finding out what's the most important part for you as a head coach and an assistant coach that you get the right recruits because the right people do right things, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not teaching character. I'm teaching how to develop stronger character, but I'm not teaching that
Yeah.
initial, like, this is what you need to do to be a good person. Little things. And it's cool when I see them hold each other accountable. Like if somebody passes somebody and doesn't say good morning, like our team will be like, you're going to go back and say good morning to them. Like those are the little things. Like, every time we get on the bus, like we even have a bus driver that tries to, like, we always try to get the same bus driver. His name's Wayne. And the guy's killer, but like our team makes him feel like part of the team. And I take a lot of pride in that too.
Yeah.
But like, he's gone to the point he makes cheesecakes for the team when we're on the road. Like you get people, I know they're delicious too. They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal.
Send one over here, please. Yes.
I know. But it's more the fact of like, when you get everybody on board and everyone's doing the same thing and they feel a part of something, like everyone wants to be a part of something bigger than that. And if they don't, then they're just not the right fit for us. But I think that goes off what you're saying with like the Instagram and stuff. It's like, I think there's so much clickbait watching all these videos. I'm like, you're literally just posting so that people will click and comment.
Yeah.
I'm like this, and if you really feel that way as a coach, you probably shouldn't have played professional volleyball. That's how I look at some of the things I've seen people post in terms of their opinions. I'm like, you're doing this just so people will comment, and like you're ruining the sport, and like it's not about that. Like I think A&M's a perfect example, right? Like nobody picked A&M to go win the championship this year,
Yeah.
and I think they've got a great bubble. And I had two of my athletes that played for me at Syracuse that transferred from Syracuse when we left and played for them. And they were just like, the coaching staff is amazing and they did the right things.
Oh, wow.
What it takes, right? Like, so they just had a buy-in culture and look like, I mean, they swept in the national championship game. Nobody even had them going probably to the Elite Eight. So I think those are the things. You get the right people, the right staff, you get everybody on board with the same vision. It's so important.
Yeah, and it seems like you're just building momentum too. Like I always go back to a flywheel of really starting something and then it carries on and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. And then like you don't have to worry about those things of, what's in the contract or, how to greet people. Like it's already moving. And once you have, your first year, like two people doing it, and then five, and then 10, and then everybody's doing it. And now it's your bus driver and your athletic trainer. Like you're starting to build this big snowball. And I think that's like, it's really cool to see those little examples in your day-to-day life of, hey, like this actually matters because this way you greet someone is going to, get us on time to a match because Wayne's killer. Like,
Yep.
I think building momentum, and I've been really bad at it with like for athletes, and that's why I appreciate it more. Is like life happened, stop, restart, go, stop, restart, go, and then all of a sudden I'm like, man, why like haven't I gotten into a rhythm, or why does everything feel so sticky? It's all those things, and when you're paying attention to those, I really appreciate seeing it and hearing it, and then all of a sudden you're like, no wonder a team, even in like 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, like A&M and you guys, you're like, oh, it's like it's been built. And I think that's what people kind of pass by. They don't understand. They just think it's like, oh, that doesn't matter. Like we need to do this now, and you're losing that momentum. What are some of the things that like are creating some friction for you? Like, what are some like weeds that are getting into the soil of like, hey, we're going and we're moving, but externally, internally, the landscape of NCAA has changed so much since you've been there. Obviously, post COVID. What are some things that are kind of getting in your way?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna have things everywhere. So it's determining for you how much energy you want to spend in it. Because as humans, we love complaining, myself included. I'm a big fan of complaining. I do it all the time. And then I realized I'm like, this did nothing for me. Like it felt good for 7 seconds and it didn't help, right?
Yeah.
So I think overall there's definitely things, I think for us specifically as an institution, it's the cost. I think that's people are starting, I think in general, the viewpoint of paying a ton for an education versus where people used to feel comfortable paying for an education are different. I think once you get them over that hump and they see the reward of it and like people getting jobs right out of school and being like just being good people and prepared, it's worth that value to me, right?
Yeah.
And that's I wouldn't work somewhere I didn't think is worth it. I think it's definitely worth it. It's just it's costly. So it's convincing families to make the investment. And I think our seniors do a great job of showing what that investment can turn into. Besides the educational piece, like who they are as people versus when they got here. And they even spoke about it, as I told you, like that's such a huge thing for me. And I think that's really cool. So I think in terms of the internal, that's the hardest part. I think externally, it's all about, and I know I'm still young, I should feel different on this, but like it's all about the post for a lot of people. Like and we've lost people to Division I schools because mom and dad wanted them to go play D1. We would crush that team. They had 4 wins this season. And I'm
Yeah.
like, the kid wanted to be here, but
Yeah.
dad was like, no, you're going to play D1. So what? You can brag about a school that nobody knows about anyway? Like, I think those are the hurdles as a D3 coach now that I didn't really think about at D1.
Yeah.
And and coming back to D3 for it, it's just like I think it's 100% what we're talking about. Like, what's the experience you want? And do you really like people are still going to love you and click that they love your story that you came here instead of Division I school or D2 school?
Hmm.
Because you're going to get that experience when you're posting that you won 25 matches in a season as opposed to winning 25 over your whole career. So I think
Yeah.
that's my other external one that's frustrating for me. I think the transfer culture, even though I don't dive into it, I think that's been really frustrating too, is just because loyalty is so important to me of like, go and get better. I think we're just teaching that like as soon as it's hard, take a step back and something else is going to get easier. What kind of life lesson is that? Or now there is some positive teaching, like you're performing. I get that, but as a coach, I with the way we train and the potential we take, I'd have a hard time doing it differently because we take people that aren't ready, and I'm sure after a year or two they'd be ready for different levels. And I'm glad that they feel that the value and we talk about it. We put it in their face, like that middle I was talking about. Ever since I recruited her, I said, I'll help you be really good, but you can't transfer. So, and then after every season, we sit down. I said, what's my one rule? She goes, I can't transfer. I said, very good. We'll see you in the spring. And, but the fact that we even have to talk about that,
Yeah.
it's sometimes you have to express what they're getting versus what they could get somewhere else. And that's something I struggle with too, but I think it's important for them to be grateful for what they have here. And the fact that they're treated like a D1 athlete. We travel great, we eat great. We've got a sports psychologist that comes and works with us that works with pro athletes. Like she was working with the US women's soccer team and people on that team, like she's a real deal, right? So reminding and teaching that gratitude is important as well. But that's kind of my biggest struggles on the external side are things I'm not going to change, and especially it's gonna I think it's gonna come in a circle. We're gonna have this for a little while, and then it'll go back to getting a little more realistic, and then there'll be another bump. Like it just I think it's kind of a ever revolving door with that. But those are the things I struggle with.
Yeah, I think every sport's doing it right now, especially post-COVID. NCAA, football is a big thing, right? With how much money's throwing out there, and there's a lot of friction for a lot of programs, and it's just so easy to complain, like you said, right? It's like I got fired because of X, Y, and Z, or that kid said this, or I'm not getting enough support, and then you're like, how is Kurt Stignetti, and probably botched that, at IU winning in 2 years in the Big Ten, like the Big Ten football.
Yep.
And the dude's like on the verge of a national championship. And I just keep coming back to like, there's always going to be noise, there's always going to be friction. And you need to create an environment where he's like, hey, I knew what I wanted to do. IU wasn't up to the standards in the stadium, in offices, all of this stuff. I wasn't going to lower my standard, and I needed to bring them to my standard. And then all of a sudden, everybody starts going like, "Hey, we can't cheap out on meals. We can't cheap out on
Yeah.
travel." But that takes Kurt going, "Hey, this is it." And I think that's a good parallel to you of like, this is it. And if you're joining here, there is a contract. I think a lot of people listening will be like, oh, like let the kid transfer if they want, or the contract's too much, or let them have fun. It's like, hey, if you want to be at a certain level, you have to shed some things and you need to accept some things. You need to sacrifice. That is something that I learned overseas is like, hey, if I want to get to the national team, all of this stuff is not helping. I didn't have someone to be like, hey, do X, Y, and Z and not A, B, and C. But I think that's what we're starting to see in a world of excuses. Why do these programs keep winning? Why are these like NFL or NBA teams always in the mix? It's like, yeah, sure, they could have, bigger budgets and stuff, but it's like, why are the Blue Jays in it? Why are, like obviously the Dodgers are going to be in, but you start questioning like, yeah, it always takes, a lot of money, big program like Ohio State, but then we're talking about, hey, if you create the right environment, get the right people in, create these expectations and these visions that are beyond you, you can ditch the money. You don't need to pay for transfers, all of
Yeah.
this stuff. That's
Yeah.
what I like diving into because everyone wants to go into that realm. And then just watching your story, I'm like, but this realm exists. Like, dude, it's right there. Just watch.
Yeah. 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 I think it's trying to figure out that blend. Like, I think the thing that frustrates me about college football right now is like, can you imagine being a coach? You coached all year. Your team's about to go to a big bowl game or even the college football playoff, and you have half your team leave. Like, can you imagine doing all that work and time? Like, what's the point? There's no point of winning in my eyes,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, think about all the coaches that left, all the players that were transferring to December when they still had bowl games. It's like, what's the point of playing? It's creating that self-induced environment, which, once again, it is what it is. No one's going to magically change it. Everybody's about the money. It's a business. I get it.
Yeah.
I think for something like us, though, that's where it's fun for us to like develop them and be like, this is who you're going to be when you leave. And like, we don't want to be somebody's, it's one thing if we're in the mix at the end of a recruiting conversation, but if I'm not in somebody's top two within the first couple calls, or maybe at most top three, depending who else they're talking to, we move on. I don't want to be somebody's number five because
Yeah.
you're not going to be successful here with our team loves it, man. Like they do. And it's not me like sugarcoating or lying to myself. Like our team loves it. And they speak so highly. And like when we bring recruits on campus, if they tell me there's a yellow flag, I'm pulling the offer. Like, and we're also not a school that tosses out offers like candy. Like
Yeah.
if I give somebody an offer, it's their offer. It's not like, okay, first come, first serve. Like that's I think those things like it's such a big thing with getting people on board and dealing with it. Cause it is a complaining culture. We all do it. It's just it's hard not to. I get it. Like I do the same thing, right? But
Same.
I think it's when we can do a great job of like holding people accountable is the hardest thing for me. And like making hard choices for both our athletes and myself is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like asking people to leave the team. That's something they played that sport their whole life, and I still lose sleep over it. However, I knew and the team knew that it was best decision for the program and for us to be successful in the future. That doesn't make it easy. But I think one thing a lot of coaches do is they struggle to make the hard choices. And I think I'm one of the few that's like, it's going to suck. I'm going to have to deal with it. Thankfully, I have an incredible institutional support here, and they know like what my vision is, and they've seen over time how those women that we're bringing in are another level of women. Like the five that graduated are unbelievable, and I think they're starting to see the benefit of me making the hard choices has allowed us to now get better humans, better volleyball players quicker. And now it doesn't take another cycle of 4 to 5 years to keep getting them because as soon as you get in that cycle, man, like we never take somebody that's not going to play for us. Like I don't take culture kids, as people say.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Like, or if it's somebody that I don't know might start just because we've got somebody simpler talented in front of them. I'll be honest, in the recruiting process, like you're going to be, you know, our stud scout team setter.
Yeah.
You're going to be the best scout team setter in the conference. But if they know that's the expectation coming in, that's what they're expect. Like then they're going to buy into that role too. So I think those are the things where it's just like it's all about making the hard decisions, having hard conversations. We're going to talk to a recruit soon that fell off our map and not by our choice, and then we're going to get back on the phone with her, and I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to be like, hey, what happened? Let's not go 20 minutes into the conversation and do la di da. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Because if she can't handle it, then she won't handle it here. So those are the things that are really important to me as a coach. I'm so grateful for my seniors, man. Like if it wasn't for them, my perspective on everything would change. And obviously, getting married and having a little bit more balance. I'm sure my wife wishes I had more balance,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Same.
we're trying. But I can take a couple days off without work now, and I never used to be able to do that. So I think it's
Yeah.
perspective, and it's been a blast. So it's all about the people, and I say that all the time. And that's where our assistants continue to learn every time. They're like, okay, what did you see in her that I didn't? And I'll show them or I'll tell them. And sometimes they'll be like, I loved that kid, and I'll get on the phone for 4 minutes and be like, she's not our kid. And they'll be like, how'd you know? I'm like, one, two, and they're like, got it. So it's really cool though. I'm super fortunate, man. They treat me really well, and then I think their vision as a department aligns with what my vision is, which is create really good human beings and to win championships, and make them better at volleyball, make them better in life, and we send them out in a good way.
Yeah. I'm trying to connect all of like the viewers, myself, you, and it's really coming down to like making hard decisions. And I think people like work hard. It's that Carol Lawson thing from Duke. It's like people work hard, but few people actually like compete. And I think it's making hard decisions and working hard. You obviously work hard and you do a lot of the work, but there's this element, if it's not compete, it's more like focused energy towards the things that you want to create. Because I think a lot of people work hard. Shoot, I work hard at, the business and then I'm all over the place. But talking to you, I'm like, man, I need to strip it down, pay attention, and really create clear energy so that those things can move, they can create momentum. And then all of a sudden, I'm not worried about that extra stuff that's kind of going to fall by the wayside or I can't control. So bringing it to hard work or compete, maybe let's say you're doing a really good job of creating focused energy at the things that really matter to you.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I think we do a good job of that. And I think it's hard too with like my assistant coach hates hearing the words they're out there. So like we're still recruiting for this fall, and she hates the
I
words
felt that too. I was like, "Ooh,
yeah, they're
yeah,
out
come on,
there.
man.
They're out there. We just got to go find them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think it's the other thing I think that the hard conversations suck, and I think that's where a lot of coaches struggle. The hard conversations and the hard decisions, and I think the thing that frustrates me, yeah, they suck, right? I think the
I'm
thing
really
that's
bad at them. I'm like, oh, I feel for that 16 threes kid who's, just enjoying the sport. And then my wife's like, who cares? I'm like, yeah, great point.
it's tough. Because and like the thing, so we did the disc test, which is like a communication style exam, more or less, as a team, and it just teaches you how to communicate with other people, understanding how they communicate, and allows less friction in my eyes.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm motivated by the fear of letting people down. So you can imagine if that's what motivates me as a human to ask people to leave the program, some of the hardest conversations I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
However, I knew for the better of the program, that's what we were going to be. And I think that's where a lot of coaches struggles. They won't do the hard thing in order to do it. And I think the thing that frustrates me about coaches when they do that is like they'll sit there and they'll tell athletes, you need to live in the uncomfortable. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. But we don't demand that from ourselves enough. And I think when you demand that from yourself as a coach, that's where you can have success. Because if you're willing to make the uncomfortable choice and do the uncomfortable thing for the benefit of other people, everybody grows from it. And maybe those athletes that I asked to leave the team might look back in 10 years and be like, that was actually the best thing for me. And if they don't, honestly, I know I made the right choice for the collective. But that's where I think we, as coaches, we need to be way better at demanding the uncomfortability that we demand from our athletes. And I think that's where you could see a lot of programs be way more successful if they did those things.
Yeah, I talked to Jamie Morrison at Texas A&M one time. I was trying to get a lot of like the pros and high quality coaches out to Denver at one point. It was like right during COVID, terrible timing. But he's like, "Hey, I only come out for like this purpose and this, amount of money," or like I forgot the exact terminology, but from that one conversation I had with him, he's like, "This is it. Say yes or no." And I was like, wow, how refreshing to know where someone stands. I don't know how many conversations I've had for, can you come out to camp in Denver? Can you do this? Or all of the kind of things I'm like, hey, what do you think? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But then I'm going to send my assistant or, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, just like yes or no. And
Yeah.
it's fascinating when I look back in my career, like there was a lot of waffling, but then like on a lot of things was like, I'm not gonna waffle. It's like I'm missing this wedding. I'm missing this
Yeah.
Christmas. Like boom, like having that clear purpose and vision to what I wanted my career to be, and then having it as a coach to be like, hey, this is it. This is what I want. I don't do this. I don't give you charity or whatever it is. Like I think that's where people struggle. It's the 15 pounds that you were talking about. It's like, do you want the donut or do you want to lose 15 pounds?
Yeah.
And if it matters to you, okay. If it's like ancillary and you don't really care, all right, like you have to start delineating that. And I think it's really important for people to understand that like clear differentiation, right? Is like, this is it. This is my bubble and making good, clear decisions within there. And then if it's outside, cool. All right. I don't really care about, having this friend group or doing X, Y, and Z. I think that's where people get maybe lump it all together. And then all
Yeah.
of a sudden it's a little bit unclear and then they work hard at the wrong things and then all of a sudden they don't improve and they're like, what the heck? I'm like working hard, but it's just not at the right things.
I think it's going off of the why as well. And not the blanket, like, why are you doing something? Like, I think we get into like, well, I'm doing it because I love it, or because, okay, if you didn't do, like, if you're not loving it anyway, you shouldn't be in this profession. It's not because we're making tons of money. Like, that's not this job, right? But the why for me specifically that I've come to, which I think is like, since I'm motivated by the fear of letting people down, I'm having all these recruit calls and having my assistant do all these recruit calls because the people that have made that decision to come play for me deserve to be alongside the very best people. And I think the people that have paved that way for us to be successful and be great people deserve that every person that comes into this program, we've done as much research as we can. Now, it's never going to be perfect,
Yeah.
but we want them to walk in our gym as alum, watch a match, and be so proud of the product that's on the court, not only in terms of how we perform, but also who they are and how they handle and represent our logo. And I think that's part of it. That's my why. And once I really sat down and figured out what's my why for each part of my job, not just collective, what's the why of each part of my job, that's where I'm in. And like with training, what's my why? My why is because I've seen success and I worked under probably one of the best trainers in the country in my eyes with Leonard. Like we used to recruit basketball players for goodness sake. Like, I mean, like, so that's why I treat my training the way I do. My why for recruiting is because every person on my team deserves to be along the best thing. And my why for taking those times, like you said, like, I was the best man in a wedding and go to the bachelor party. You know, And what's my why? It's
Yeah.
because these people came to play for me and came to play for the school, and we have to take that ownership of it. So I think the why is really important, and not the blanket statement because I love it, not because I don't know what else I would do. It's you got to find whys within each part of your career and your life, I think, and that's where you can be really successful. Of like, the why of my scheduling. Why am I going to do this scheduling? You've got to find each part. And if you can find success in that, it's just breaking down the little things to make it easier on yourself as the big picture. Because as you said, I think we get lost in the big picture when there's too many things and it's hard to keep that momentum moving forward. But if you have
Yeah.
little whys in each part of your snowball, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
like if I can just take a little bit of that snow in front of us and just keep that as my way, we can push it there quicker rather than being like, it's hard to push a gigantic snowball that we feel doesn't have that momentum.
Yeah. And I just love the purpose behind this conversation, right? I said at the beginning, but it's just clear to me now, kind of having this deep dive with you, is that it feels like you're in this space that is very clear. There's not a lot of like ancillary friction. Like obviously there's some, but you're not bogged down by it. It's just like, hey, I'm in here. I have room to breathe. I have room to make hard decisions. And you're not in this like, I got to win. I got to do this now. And you're like in a fearful stage. It's more of
Yeah.
a breath perspective. And I get that feeling talking to you on how clear you are. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. And it's not intimidating where a lot of people will be like, oh man, it's, they're really intense or I can't play for this coach because it's like, it's too much. I think there's just a good sense of space with purpose behind it. And I think that's a great takeaway and kind of reflecting all that we've talked about is just this vision, this purpose, and then doing the small things to support that and things outside of the bubble. Hey, we don't have time for that.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. And like I think taking a good job is really important, right? And then like the best way I could sum up how I feel is like I do my job. I like what we tell athletes, play to win, not to lose, like with the fear of losing.
Yep.
That's how I feel here. And that's how I feel as a coach right now is that everything we're doing is playing to win. It's not with the fear of losing. And as a person, like when I was at Cuse, like you have that pressure on your neck all the time.
Yep.
Like so it's been great. But I really appreciate it, man. Like everything we've talked about is the important stuff in my eyes. Every coach can learn X's and O's, and I still don't think there's one way to do the X's and O's. I think
Yep.
it's just deciding for you what's important and then learning as much as you can, being adaptable and like understanding that you're not always right. You're going to be wrong. Just own up to it and be genuine. And the more they see that you love them and like, they don't love me every day and that's fine, but they know that I love them as people and they know that like when they're done here, they're going to be better people because they're seeing the results. So just having the right whys and everything, it's a blast, man. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
And I think just the environment, wherever environment you're in, you can adapt that, right? I mean, like Syracuse is really intense, but maybe given the right sort of time, reflection, you might have been able to create that presence there. Just like a Kurt Signetti at IU, right? And so I think it's like wherever you are, whatever environment you're in, you could be in the desert, you can be in upstate New York, right? And you can create these things, but you got to know what matters to you and kind of reflect perspective and then make those hard choices. But really appreciate you coming on. This was so much fun and super excited to see where the Herons go. Love the mascot.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
All right, we'll talk soon.
See ya.